Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering yet another Studio Ghibli film, Whisper of the Heart.
Now, if you've seen our podcast for The Cat Returns, then you'll know that this is actually the first film between the two. And we're very surprised just how different they are from each other. And I'm really happy Carrie Elvis was still in the first one.
Yes. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, click notification bell on future podcasts, and we'll pause video.
Absolutely. And more Studio Ghibli until we are done.
Yes. So for this one, we end up seeing the two movies out of order. Remember hearing that this was the only film to really have a quasi-sequel to existing Ghibli film. And we saw The Cat Returns first, thinking it was a standalone, like, oh, it's like a character you haven't seen before, but they'll explain why they're back. And it really didn't, but we still enjoyed it. Until we watched the special features, and we saw that this was a sequel to Whisper of the Heart. And you find out why, if you've seen it backwards, you'll find out why Cat Returns was a sequel to this.
Yes, and the sequel was really interesting because it was fantasy and fun and all of these things that we thought Whisper of the Heart was going to be.
Yeah.
But we found out it wasn't, and it's really a romantic drama and slice of life.
Right. Even on the poster, they advertise it to be more fantasy, where she's with the cat the whole time, but when you watch the film, that's only a segment of it. The cat really inspires
not even a
her.
segment. It's like a couple of minutes, if that long.
Yeah, but that seemed to be the biggest part of the advertisements was the adventure, and it made it sound like that was the movie.
Right.
So it looks like The Cat Returns was the movie they didn't promise.
Right. So if you've seen Whisper of the Heart, we're not giving any spoilers. You know that she was inspired to start writing the character.
Right. It was the Baron. Yes, it was the statue, right?
Yeah, but the girl, she was inspired to start writing.
I'm sorry. You want her name?
Shizuku.
Yes,
And
I'm sorry.
She was inspired to start writing, and a statue gave her the inspiration, and she came up with this wonderful story that you really don't see in this movie. You see in The Cat Returns, and even the character that appears, the girl that's in there.
Right.
I remember thinking, as soon as we watched this, hey, that character in The Cat Returns kind of looks like her.
Yeah.
And then you realize after you see the rest of this movie, yes, it was her inserting herself in this fantasy story with the cat.
Right.
But you find out whom the statue belongs to and how it ends up inspiring her. And it's a slice of life, coming of age, all of these
musical,
roll into one.
Right, and we were really surprised. It was really more about finding what was really your passion. What is it you want to do? Because it seems to be a common thing in a lot of these shows and movies, where in Japan or here, that the teens are still, by the time they're like in high school or going to college, they haven't figured out what they really want to do with their lives after they finish. They're not aimless, but they're just, don't know what to do. And when she sees the statue and she hears what happened to him in his journey, she gets inspired to write the story, and then she finds out that's her passion, is writing fiction.
And prior to that, she was writing songs. There was this song all throughout the movie. You hear the original, you heard a cover, you heard the character singing it.
Right.
And I think it's called Country Roads. It's a country, western or country song called Country Roads. And she would take the lyrics and make different she'll take the song and apply different lyrics so that it'd be a totally different story being told in the song rather than the original lyrics.
Right.
And she kept doing that, and people looked forward to her doing it. Clearly this is something she did with her friends. And she accidentally left her notebook in a bench that she was sitting on. And then this boy, who she kept calling a jerk, Seiji, he found it and returned it to her.
Stupid jerk! I'm like, come on!
And I don't recall if she knew him already or she just met him that very first time after he had the book.
I think it's the latter, because they attend the same school, but they really didn't know each other.
So she knew he existed.
That's
so
it.
They didn't really meet for the first time.
Right.
The first time they interacted.
Right, that's pretty much it.
So the song is by Glenn Campbell. In case someone goes, well, who's it by? Don't you know? Yes, Glenn Campbell. and it's one of the big country hits. And it's really amazing that this song, this American song, inspired the writer of this book to include it in there and to have this whole story wrapped around this song that has nothing to do with Japan or the culture or anything,
right?
But has such a big input into the telling and relaying of this story.
Yeah, because when you hear it, it's like, this is actually something from America, and they just really loved it.
Yes,
yes, I know. I just wanted to emphasize, that's all.
Yeah. So that was really interesting. And I heard it and I was like, okay, I know this song. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And then I knew when it was a cover, I knew it was the original singer. And when she was making up the lyrics, and it was fun. You know, it was fun that she was making up different lyrics. So anyway, she leaves the notebook. He finds the notebook. She calls him a jerk. And like in most of the anime, they have this animosity between them in the beginning.
What? She had animosity between them because he was fine. She was like, she was pissed at him for everything.
And then there was a love triangle because
so
one of her friends liked him. One of her friends was in love with her, male friend. And then there was a female friend of hers who was in love with the male friend that was in love with her. And it was like a low of the sea all over again.
Right.
And then he confessed to her that he loved her, and she's like, this can never be. Why? Because whatever the friend's name was.
Let me think. You'll get it. They're pretty simple because there weren't too many characters.
It was Yuko. And I think it was Yuko.
I think because one was the friend.
And one was the girl.
Right.
Yes, it was Yuko.
Okay.
And Ashley Tisdale did her voice.
Yes, it was surprised.
And Yuko, she said, this will never be because Yuko's my friend. And this will never be. It doesn't matter how I feel. So you kind of got the impression that she liked him too. She felt very similar.
Yeah.
But she says it can never be because Yuko's my friend and I can never do that. And so he got upset. And then she meets
Seiji.
And then she ends up having a new object of her affection. Reluctantly at first, but as the movie goes on, and then the stories reveal that she's written involving the kitty cat and everything, then you see the turn of events. You knew it was going to happen. When she met him and called him a jerk, you automatically knew she's going to end up with that.
Right, because they did this later with Up on Poppy Hill, so this is a little theme
and
this is company.
This is a common theme in anime.
Right. Stupid jerk! It's like, come on, stop it!
So by the end, you know, they each profess their love to each other. No spoilers, because if you haven't seen it, sorry, it's a rom-com. You know how it's going to end.
Well, I gotta bring this up.
Before we get to that, it was so funny. He's like, do you think you could ever marry me? And she's like, yes!
And that's actually it. That was what I was gonna bring up because all I could think of was Nosaki. It's like someone's been watching these Studio Ghibli movies because we see this is a trend, like, you know, with just anime, but Ghibli movies seem to have the thing where they end up marrying at some point in their films when it's that type of setup. And all I could think was Kosh, I'm like, okay, clearly she thinks she's in a Studio Ghibli film and she's just waiting for it to happen.
So it was a great way to end it because you couldn't help but laughing. You knew they were going to end up together. It was very sweet. And I think that's what makes the two of these movies so divergent from each other.
Yeah.
Because this is not a fantasy, except for a small part of it.
Yeah.
It's a romantic comedy in some instances. It's slice of life. It's coming of age. Yeah. And you see how she came about, you know, the idea for the story, and then in The Cat Returns, you see the story, the full story that she wrote.
Right.
I think it was brilliant to do that because we saw the second movie first and didn't know it was the second movie, but now we've seen the first movie. It makes so much sense that it was the second movie,
right?
And it was a brilliant way to continue the story without it being a sequel.
Right.
But more of, hey, what was the story she was writing? We got to see a part of it. She came out of her fantasy. That was the end of it.
Right.
And you really like, well, what about the rest of the story? Well, guess what?
Right.
There's a movie telling you what she actually wrote.
This is what they should have done with Lightyear. That's what should have been done with Lightyear.
Absolutely.
And seeing this, you know, it wasn't what we expected, but I'm still glad we saw it. It had to get a little adjusted that this was not going to be like The Cat Returns, but it was still a fun little movie. I think we personally like the fantasy films a lot from Ghibli. The slice of life movies are just fine. They're still enjoyable. We still like them. But we really love seeing the fantasy type movies like Spirited Away and Ponyo and Howl's Moving Castle. But this was just added to our collection of watching them.
And I really liked how by seeing this movie, because I'm glad we saw the second one first. Because we saw the character, she was strong-willed and all these different things. And then when you see this movie, again, you see that she placed herself into the story with the cat.
Right.
It was her. It was just her in the story with this cat having this fantasy adventure.
Right.
But if we had seen this movie first, and then we saw the second movie, as soon as we saw it, we would have known, okay, that's her. Okay, that's how she behaves. Okay, this is the story she wrote. Okay, let's see what happens. It would have been a totally different experience. I think we enjoyed it more seeing that movie first and seeing this one second, because it's like seeing the product, the finished product, and then here seeing how it came about. And again, it's a wonderful, lovely, sweet story of romance that you can't help but love. I mean, and then to also learn that it was the story, or the screenplay was written by Miyazaki, but it was directed by someone else.
Yes.
And normally that doesn't happen.
And that was it was directed by Yoshifumi Kondo.
So that was different.
Yes. And here's some that we didn't even expect. Apparently there's going to be a sequel to this, a live action sequel to this movie that was made in 1995. And it says Sony announced there will be a live action sequel. The film, it was supposed to be out in 2020, but the event happened, so now it's going to be out October 14th as of recording this year. And we were like, what? Like, what? We didn't even know they were even thinking about this movie still. How are you going to do that? What? Isn't The Cat Returns enough?
Well, we're not recording this in October.
Well, no. But
it's summer. But to learn that that's going to come out this year. Well, this is going to come out in
you'll see it. The time, it's like time travel.
It's going to come out in 2022.
Yeah. So, you're reading this is like time travel. Just expect that. So, by now, it's already out.
True. Definitely. And by now, you'll probably be able to hear the podcast on that movie as well.
Right. So it's like a time travel podcast you're watching.
So if you've seen The Cat Returns, let us know what you think in the comments below. Did you see this one first as is designated, and then if you've seen
it's gone all over the place,
actually. Let us know in the comments below. Did you see The Whisper of the Heart first as it's designated and The Cat Returns second, or did you see it like we did in reverse? Let us know in the comments. Do you love it? Do you think that them having two different types of movies is a great idea? Are you looking forward to, or have you now seen the live action version of this? Please don't let it suck like the other live action adaptations. Let us know in the comments below. If you haven't seen Whisper of the Heart, it's available to purchase on Amazon. You can also purchase, rent or buy on YouTube. If you live outside the U.S., then you're probably seeing it for free on Netflix.
Right.
We don't get that luxury, so you have to either probably get it from your local library or you have to purchase it.
Right. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates, weekly videos on your favorite anime series, animated shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much for watching Mask Entertainment.
And Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
Rivers and streams, plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket.